All right. Let me share my screen. All right. So we'll try to keep this as quick as possible. I'm going to try to just highlight the really important stuff. Um, please do read the whole syllabus, though. There's a lot of really important stuff that we're just not going to be able to get into detail on. Um, so let's dive in. So, Mr. Andrew Gadberry, just Mr., not Doctor. My office is 4105. It's on the fourth floor. You will need to know this. We are going to have lots of one-on-one meetings throughout the semester. 4105 is in the same building as our class. It's just on the fourth floor. Take the elevator. The stairs are killer. Um, and it's in like this weird hallway. I'll send out an email when we get closer to time for those meetings. But if you happen to be up there, I suggest looking for it. It's kind of weird to find. It's in this weird middle hallway. Student hours, not office hours. A lot of students think that office hours are a time that professors like begrudgingly allow students to come and visit them, but they're actually extremely busy in that time, and that students are um, violating the sacrosanct time that they are using to research or write or something like that. It's not true. We're all setting aside that time to wait for students, and we're basically mostly just twiddling our thumbs waiting for folks to come by. And so if students aren't coming by, it's a waste of our time. But when students do come by, it is the opposite of a waste of time. So please take advantage of that. So this is actually Tuesday, Thursday. I think I've got them 12 to 2 this semester. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 12 to 1, I think. I'll double check that before I send this out. Um, Textbooks, all of our readings are provided. I understand that for some reason, I'm still figuring out this textbook. It's our first semester with this new online textbook. Before it was really easy. We didn't really use the textbook. Students just didn't buy it. But now apparently students are just automatically being charged for this textbook. If that's the case, then we'll get access to that, and I'll use some readings from it so that uh, it's not a waste for you guys. Um, we won't be needing this semester. So students will be beyond like textbooks and basic things like computers. The only thing that you need will be access to Google Drive, which is actually what we're in right now. You're looking at Google Docs, which is the word processor within Google Drive. We're going to set up a drive in class. You don't have to worry about this necessarily right now. You already have a drive. It's a Google account. You already have uh, such an account through your A State email. That is a Google account, and so you already have it. But I'll show you guys how to set it up. That's how we turn everything in. And yeah, we'll look at that more closely later. Um, Description, goals, and outcomes. So this is all standard stuff coming from various levels, from the university level down to the department level. The one that is really the most important are these. So myself and some colleagues recently rewrote these. Learning outcomes are essentially our promise to students. This is what you're buying with your tuition money. These are the outcomes that you can expect. And so we wrote these. We were able to update these recently. And so take a look at those if you want to know what we're working toward. What in the same way, if you take, a math class, you expect to be able to do certain kinds of math at the end of the semester. These are the skills that you're going to get from taking the course. And so if you're interested in that, take a look at these. And this is what I build assignments around. This is what informs our decisions as to what types of assignments and what types of discussions we want to have and stuff like that is to serve these outcomes. Assessment, don't worry about that. It has nothing to do with you. When you upload your portfolio at the end of the semester, that's assessment, and it's an assessment of the educators, not of the students. So here's the really important stuff that you want to know. The assignment. So there are 4 assignments. This class is a project-based class. The entirety of the course is kind of a unit. My dog. The course is built around these assignments right here. These two, the literature review and the creative work. So we'll get in more into what these are, but basically just to describe them real quick, the proposal is where you're going to propose a project. Basically, you're going to kind of pitch a topic. And then literature review, you're going to do a lot of research. You're going to dig into the literature, as we call it. Sorry. And then you're going to review that literature, kind of say, like, here's everything that's going on with this topic as far as like academic research is concerned. You're then going to take that topic, and here's where this class differs from all of the other Comp 2 classes. You're going to then write a short story. Actually, you're not going to then write a short story. At the same time that you're doing a literature review, you're also writing a short story. And we'll get into why we're doing it that way. So you'll have the chance to create a work of, of an academic nature, but then a work of a creative nature as well. That is the bulk of the semester. The proposal will have done relatively quickly. Most of the class is working on the literature review and the creative work. And then at the very, very, very end, like last week of class, then we'll do a reflection and put it all together into a portfolio. So I would say 4/5 of the class time-wise is on these two major assignments right here in the middle. And obviously we'll get very deep into describing those and figuring out exactly what they are. But that's what the course looks like. Journals. So we don't really do journals as you might think of it. We're going to do weekly reflections, and that's what your journal is. I think we're going to do those on Wednesdays. Statements of value, you can look over these. These are things that I think are really important, that kind of inform how I teach, what's kind of between the lines of what I'm doing as an instructor. And this is just the values that inform my decisions and the nature of my interactions with students and stuff like that. Student wellness is a really important one. But definitely read all these if you're interested in what my values are. This about the course, super important. If you really want to know my personal philosophy on what writing is, especially how I think writing should be taught, take a look at this. If I were to describe it as quickly as possible, it would be writing is a process, not a product. So most likely your experience with writing up to this point is writing as a product, where you get an assignment, you write the essay, meaning you produce this product of an essay. That product is graded, and your grade is identical to the grade of the product, right? So the writing is just this product that you're making. Writing as a process is different in that it's less interested in the product, in the quality of a given artifact of writing, and instead is a lot more interested in what is the process that went into creating that. So I'm a lot more interested. I want your grade, your final grade, to be a reflection of the quality of your process in text creation, rather than tied to the quality of just the surface of the text, right? Whether it's good writing or not. The idea is that if we focus on process enough and well enough, and I teach you process well enough, the product will come, right? That's a natural byproduct, literally, that if you have a good process, necessarily you will also have good writing. A student who has good writing does not necessarily have a good process. And so what I don't want is to have a student come into class, they're already a fairly good writer, maybe even a talented writer, but they have a really terrible process. They're good enough to get through this class, a freshman level class, but then they get up in their senior level classes that requires a lot of writing. Their process crumbles, and all of a sudden they can't produce good products anymore because their process can no longer handle the requirements. And so we're very focused on process here. I want to make sure that we're getting on the class with strong, healthy writing styles and processes and habits and stuff like that. And the course is very much and I'm not going to teach you what your process should be. Instead, we're just going to kind of discuss what good process looks like generally, but ultimately it's up to you to kind of figure out what is your process, what are the flaws of your process, what are the virtues of your process, and it's up to you to figure out how do I minimize those flaws, because we can't get rid of them, because often those flaws are also connected to the benefits, right? For instance, I'm someone who procrastinates somewhat, but that's because I write better under pressure. A lot of us feel that way, and so finding ways of simulating pressure is really important. That's why we set like deadlines for ourselves and stuff like that. I want to be done with this draft by here so that I can then start working on the second draft by here so that I can hit my main deadline there, right? Instead of saying there's just one deadline way at the end of the summer and assuming I'll get there. And so this class can be a struggle for some students because there's so much space. I'm going to give you the chance to fail, the chance to miss deadlines, the chance to set your own schedule and figure your own way of getting this project done. In a lot of ways, this course isn't a test of your writing. It's a test of your ability to start and finish a product, or in this case, a project. So can your process handle the creation of this project? If not, we're going to meet about it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to troubleshoot it. I'm going to be there to guide you through those obstacles, right? And so while there is a lot of space, and it's ultimately up to you to determine how you tackle the challenge of the course, I'm going to be there every step of the way. Okay, moving on. Policies. So I'm not going to hit all of these. The ones that I really want to talk about is talk to me. If you're not talking to me, there's nothing I can do for you. If you're missing class, if you are missing assignments and stuff like that, if you're just drop off the face of the earth, I don't get emails, you're not coming by my office, you're not talking to me at all, and then you show up in the semester wanting bonus points, wanting me to pass you, that's not going to happen. I can promise you it's not going to happen. However, if you're talking to me, right, you're going through some health problems, you're going through some struggles, whatever they are, and I'm in the loop on those things to at least some degree. There's a conversation to be had between the two of us, right? We have the ability to negotiate. You have the ability to negotiate with me, because I'm not an asshole. I have a heart, right? If you're just letting me know what's going on, I'm going to talk to you and we're going to figure something out. I'm not here to fail anybody. But ultimately, the policies are what they are. There is an objective reality to this class that I also am held to. Right. So talk to me. Adding on to that, to make that talk to me policy a little bit easier to engage with, I have a goldfish policy, which I got from Dr. Isom, one of our literature professors that I really liked. You're going to be going through stuff that, for whatever reason, you don't want to give me details. Maybe it's personal, maybe whatever. I don't care. You can just say my goldfish died, and that's a no questions asked. Say you're going to miss class, you're going to miss a deadline. Typically, I might want a little bit of information, but if that little bit of information might be too personal, embarrassing, whatever, or you just don't want me to know, you can just say my goldfish died. I'll say like, okay, I'm sorry about your goldfish. I'll see you on Monday. Or sorry about your goldfish. When do you think you can get the assignment due? Can you have it in by the end of the weekend or something like that? So I'm not a moron. This is obviously a policy that can be abused. 2, 3, 4 goldfish deaths in a semester from a single student. Okay. I've had tough semesters too. But let's talk about the attendance policy real quick. So students can miss a maximum of 6 days. So this has to do with accreditation. The way that state and federal law works, the university cannot put on your degree, cannot sign off on your transcript that you've taken a class, cannot say this student has this knowledge, has this skill, if you've missed more than 2 weeks of class. And so there's a government like law code that is put on us in this situation. There's nothing I can do about it. 6 absences, you fail the course. Now, I have some discretion in excusing absences. Now, technically, 6 even excused absences is still a failure. But if we're talking to me, goldfish are dying, whatever, we can start bending policies a little bit. We can start finding ways of making up days where it's no longer an absence, right? We can start figuring out ways of getting you credit for those days. So it's so important that you're talking to me. 6 days is not a lot. It seems like a lot. It's really not a lot. It's so easy to miss just a straight week of class, right? If you miss a week of class, that's half of your absences. And so, with that said, if you're giving me 6, 7, 8 goldfish deaths, you're not offering any information, which you're using the policy. So it is what it is. But at that point, I don't have enough information to give the student a great deal of the benefit of the doubt. After 4 or 5 goldfish deaths, maybe a little bit of information, a little bit of context might be necessary. And so understand that. I know the goldfish policy can be abused, but I always have good faith in my students that they're not abusing things, that everything is as they say it are. And if there's not enough information, I assume the best. I try to assume the best possible scenario to explain a student's behavior or explain a student's whatever. But that starts to wear a bit thin when we get past six absences, or when we miss 2 assignments and stuff like that, right? And so there is a limit to these things. So understand that. Please use the goldfish policy, but understand that it does wear thin after a little while. But that's not to say you can't use it 6 times, right? Ultimately, that's a bridge for us to cross individually. I'm a very one-on-one, case by case. You wield policies at blanket. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Hopefully we don't have to. Due dates. All due dates are final. If I give you a deadline, there's very few deadlines in this class. If I give you a deadline, it's final. Obviously, talk to me. A lot of deadlines. We'll talk about deadlines. When we get close to deadlines, we'll talk about them. I'm trying to keep it as short as possible. Peer review. We're going to have to peer review. Be ready to share your work with your peers. Use Google Docs. Revision policy. We'll dig into this when we get deeper into revision. But basically, I've given you guys control over what counts as a revision, and revision is deeply tied to your grade. The grade you get in the course is defined by the number of revisions you get through. B students have done a certain number of revisions. A students have done slightly more numbers of revisions. My printer was freaking out. Okay. Here's what we're all here for: grading. The calculating grades in this class it may seem a little complex, but it's really not. And throughout the semester, you'll be walked through, and I'll show you the break points of, like, at this point, if you guys are at a B, if you want to do X number of drafts more, it will get you an A. So we're walking through this the whole semester. But drafting, there are 2 major assignments. We're considering the proposal a minor assignment and the portfolio reflection a minor assignment. The 2 major assignments of the lit review and the creative work are drafted multiple times, and the minimum number of revisions for each of these works is 3. If you don't do 3 revisions of these assignments, you do not get credit for the course. You fail the class. Here are definitions of what those drafts are. And obviously, all of this is within the course. We'll get into this later, but you will have time to work on all of your assignments in class. I don't do homework. We will have lots and lots of writing days. And so 3 drafts sounds like a lot, but all of this is scheduled out already. So basically, if you just come to class and use class time to write, you will get an A in this class. It's when you start missing classes, start goofing off and not using class time to write, that's where you start running into issues. So just come to class and do your writing. Participation is an all or nothing, and this is going off your journals, which if you come to class on Wednesdays, you'll already have them done and you can't make them up. So just come to class, do your journals. So as long as you're in the vast majority, so as long as you come to 3 out of 4 Wednesdays and do your journals, full credit. And then have no more than 5 unexcused absences. So don't fall off the face of the planet and you'll be fine. Here's where grades come from. So let's start with to fail, you don't meet any of these requirements, right? You don't do the bare minimum. So what is the bare minimum to pass the class? So since you're missing 1 or more of the minor assignment drafts, so we'll do a draft or 2. It kind of depends. These things are kind of fluid. Sometimes we do 2 proposal drafts. Sometimes we only get 1. We'll see. But who are missing 1 or more of the minor assignment drafts and or more than 2 of the major assignment drafts, but still have full participation. So in order to pass class, you've got to have your journals and you have to come to class and not have unexcused absences. So as long as you have full credit for participation and have done at least 1 draft of all of the assignments, then you can earn a D up to a C. And that is kind of depending on if you have 1 of everything and have your journals and everything, that's a D. If you have like 1 of the proposal, 2 of the lit review, and 1 of the creative work, and things start shifting their weight, and then maybe even work up into a C, it's kind of case by case. So, yeah, so that's C, D territory. Students who submit completed drafts of the minor assignments, proposal and reflection, and a minimum of 2 drafts of the major assignments, and then get full credit for participating, get the grade of B. And so earlier, the minimum number of 3, that's the minimum number to receive full credit for the course, to receive an A. So if you do 2 of the major assignments, and then you do all the minor assignments and your participation, that's a B. There's a point in the semester in the last few weeks where you'll have the option. I try to do it about 2 weeks before finals, where we've got through 2 drafts of everything. And I'll say, at this point, if you want to be, you can be done with the class. You can be done. You've got your 2 drafts of everything. You've got your participation solid. You can stop coming to class, be totally done with this class, take the B and focus on your other courses. If you want an A in the course, you'll then use those last 2 weeks to work on 3rd drafts of the 2 major assignment. And then that's the A. So it's basically students who don't really need this class that much and would rather focus on other classes. You can take a B and the course ends early for you. Or you can take an A, use the last 2 weeks to write in class, and then get an A. So that's how that works. So obviously students who just choose to take a B, or if you just have had issues, you get to the end, you try your absolute best, you're only able to crank out 2 drafts, then you can get a B that way as well. So we'll talk more, especially when we get deeper into the semester. And you want to like write this down somewhere, because this isn't a class where you can email and be like, hey, what's my grade? Because we won't know your grade until the very end. It depends on how many drafts you get done. So basically you can ask yourself, how many drafts do I have done? And that's the grade I have up to this point. And so about 2/3 way through the semester, we'll have drafts of everything. And you'll at that point have passed the class. And then it's just a question of how many more drafts am I going to do? That will determine the quality of my grade. So yeah, don't ask me what your grade is. Look at this and then cross-reference this to your portfolio. How many drafts in your portfolio? Feedback. So your papers don't get grades on them. I'm not going to tell you if it's an A, a B, or a C, because that's not helpful. But I will comment on your papers a lot. So first drafts are peer-reviewed. 2nd and 3rd drafts I read and comment on. You can, we'll look at this when we get closer to the time. You will write cover letters, and those cover letters will basically tell me, hey, I don't really want a lot of comments. Just kind of give me the broad strokes to tell me if the paper's good or not. Or you can say, I want you to go sentence by sentence, word by word, and comment on everything, or anywhere in between. And so that's done through cover letters. The only difference is you get, they're like other classes, hopefully your writing instructors are commenting on your paper, but then you get a grade as well. The only difference is I did the same thing. I just don't put a grade on it, but you'll have an idea by the comments if the paper is high quality, effective, low quality, ineffective, or somewhere in between. It's just arbitrary to put an A, a B, or a C, right? Because what's really the difference between an A and a B and a C, right? That's ultimately just subjective, in my opinion. If I think it's a highly effective or a moderately effective A or B, who cares? All I care about is the paper effective? Is it doing the thing you want it to do? If so, great. You've accomplished what you're trying to accomplish. This is a breakdown of the cover letters. We'll get into that when we get closer to needing to write one. Makeup policy, writing center, go use them. If you miss peer review, you can go to the writing center and do a session there. I'll accept it as peer review. Making a point using Pingy, plagiarism. Don't use ChatGPT to write your papers. We use Drive, and there's a function here where I can look at all of your edits. And so you can see all of the different forms that this has taken over the years of me using it. I can say the same with your papers. So if I see huge sections being copy pasted into your processor, that's going to throw up red flags, right? And I'm interested in your process. I'm interested whenever I'm going to go comment on a paper. I want to see how have they changed from their first draft, and that goes into my consideration of how I'm thinking about your paper, how I'm commenting on it. I'm going to comment on those decisions that you're making. Oh, this was a good change to make. Oh, this wasn't, it was better before. So it's super obvious to me when students are going in and wholesale importing in chunks of text. So don't do that. You'll get caught and I'll fail you. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, I need to delete this. This is a really old policy. Oh, I got all these. Yeah. And that is about it. If you have any questions about anything, write it down, bring it to class Monday, and we'll discuss it. Yeah, that's all. So enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys on Monday.